Let me paint you a picture. You're making $75,000 a year. That's more than the median household income in America. You've got a college degree, a decent apartment. You're not living paycheck to paycheck in the traditional sense, but here's what's actually happening. You've got maybe $3,000 in your savings account. Your 401k has like 12 grand in it even though you've been working for 6 years. You financed a car at 7% interest because you needed reliable transportation. You've got subscriptions you forgot you're paying for. And every single month you look at your bank account and think, where the hell did all my money go? You're not broke, but you're also not building wealth. You're stuck. And the worst part? You have no idea why this is happening to you. My name is Grant, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people who make good money still can't seem to get ahead financially. If you're someone who's tired of making decent money but feeling like you're running on a financial treadmill, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, because we're about to dig into why most people stay broke even with good jobs, and more importantly, how to actually fix it. Here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about. Making more money doesn't automatically make you wealthy. I know that sounds obvious when I say it out loud, but look at how people actually behave. There's this assumption baked into American culture that if you just get the degree, get the good job, get the promotion, suddenly your financial problems will solve themselves, and it's complete nonsense. Let me give you some numbers that should honestly terrify you. According to a 2023 survey by payroll.org, 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. But here's what's wild about that statistic. It's not just people making $30,000 or $40,000 a year. That number includes people making 6 figures. The survey found that over half of people earning between $100,000 and $150,000 annually report living paycheck to paycheck. Let me say that again. More than half of 6-figure earners can't get a month ahead on their finances. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Nick, but those people probably live in expensive cities or have student loans or kids. And yeah, sure, those things matter. But that's actually part of the problem I'm talking about. Because what we've done is normalized being financially stressed regardless of income. We've accepted that lifestyle inflation is just what happens. We've convinced ourselves that our financial situation is explained by our circumstances rather than our decisions. Here's what most people don't realize. The difference between someone who builds wealth and someone who stays broke on the same income isn't usually about financial literacy in the way you think. It's not that wealthy people know some secret investment strategy you don't. It's that they have a completely different psychological relationship with money. Let me explain what I mean. When most people get a raise, let's say you go from $60,000 to $75,000 a year, that extra 15 grand feels like it just evaporates. You're making more money, but somehow you don't feel any wealthier. Your savings account doesn't really grow, your debt doesn't really shrink, and you're confused because you thought more income would solve the problem. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's probably the single biggest reason people stay broke despite good incomes. Here's the math on what actually happens. That $15,000 raise, after taxes, you're taking home maybe $10,000 more. That's about $830 extra per month. Now look, $830 a month is real money. If you saved and invested that for 10 years at an 8% return, you'd have about $150,000. But that's not what happens. Instead, what happens is this. You move to a slightly nicer apartment, that's $300 more a month. You upgrade your car because you can afford it now, that's another $200 a month. You start eating out more because you're treating yourself for the promotion, that's easily another $200. You get nicer clothes, better tech, maybe a gym membership you'll use for 3 months, and just like that, the extra money is gone. You're living a slightly more comfortable lifestyle, but you're not wealthier, you're just spending more. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most people will tell you this is fine. They'll say, what's the point of making more money if you don't improve your lifestyle? And honestly, I get that logic. But there's a massive difference between intentionally choosing to spend money on things that genuinely improve your life and unconsciously allowing your expenses to expand to match your income. One is a decision, the other is a trap. This is where the psychology gets really important. There's a concept in behavioral economics called the hedonic treadmill. Basically, humans are really good at adapting to new circumstances. When something good happens, you get a raise, buy a new car, move to a better apartment, you get this spike of happiness. But then, pretty quickly, you adapt to your new circumstances, and that thing that made you happy just becomes your new normal. So you need the next thing to get that same feeling. It's literally a treadmill. You're running faster, but you're not actually getting anywhere. The problem is that your lifestyle expectations move faster than your income. Let me give you a concrete example. Say you're making $50,000 and you get a promotion to $70,000. Suddenly, things you couldn't afford before feel accessible. You see your coworkers who make $70,000 going on nice vacations, driving newer cars, living in better neighborhoods. And there's this social pressure to match that lifestyle because that's what someone at your level does. But here's what you don't see. Those coworkers are probably just as broke as you were before the promotion. They're just broke at a higher income level. I want you to understand something crucial. Your income is not your wealth. Your wealth is the gap between what you earn and what you spend, multiplied over time. Someone making $60,000 and spending $50,000 is building more wealth than someone making $120,000 and spending $115,000. Not in absolute dollars, obviously, but in trajectory. Because wealth isn't about how much money flows through your hands. It's about how much you keep. Now look, I'm not saying you should live like you're broke when you're not. I'm not telling you to eat ramen and never enjoy your money. What I'm saying is that most people have this completely backwards. They increase their spending first, and then they hope to save whatever's left over. That's the broke person's mentality, even if you have a good job. Wealthy people do it in reverse. They decide how much to save and invest first, and then they build their lifestyle around what's left. Here's another thing that keeps people broke. They fundamentally misunderstand what things actually cost. I'm not talking about the sticker price. I'm talking about the true cost over time. Let me show you what I mean. Say you're looking at buying a $35,000 car. You think, okay, I can afford a $600 monthly payment. But that's not what that car actually costs you. That car costs you gas, insurance, maintenance, registration, and most importantly, opportunity cost. If instead of buying that car, you bought a $15,000 used car and invested the difference, that's $20,000, in index funds, returning 8% per year, in 30 years, that money would be worth about $200,000. So the true cost of that car isn't $35,000. It's potentially $200,000 in future wealth. Nobody thinks about purchases this way, and that's exactly why they stay broke. The same logic applies to almost everything. That $200 a month in subscriptions you barely use, invested over 30 years at 8%, that's almost $300,000. Those daily $6 lattes, that's about the same. Now you might be thinking, oh great, here's another finance guy telling me not to buy coffee. No, buy the coffee if it genuinely makes your life better, but understand what you're actually trading. You're not trading $6, you're trading future financial freedom. This is where most financial advice completely fails people, because everyone tells you to budget, make a spreadsheet, track every penny, cut out the lattes. And look, those things can help, but they're treating the symptoms, not the disease. The disease is that you haven't internalized the true cost of your decisions. You're making financial choices based on whether you can afford the monthly payment, not whether the purchase moves you towards or away from your long-term goals. Here's what most people don't realize. Your income is your most powerful wealth-building tool, but only if you protect it from yourself. Every dollar you earn is like a little soldier you're sending out into the world. You can send those soldiers out to work for you, investing them so they multiply and build your future wealth, or you can send them out to die, spending them on things that lose value or provide temporary pleasure. Most people are sending their soldiers out to die and then wondering why they're losing the war. Let me tell you about the psychological trap that keeps even smart people broke. It's called present bias. Humans are neurologically wired to value immediate rewards more than future ones. If I offer you $100 today or $110 in a month, most people take the $100 today even though waiting is clearly the better deal. That same bias is why you'll buy a new phone on your credit card at 24% interest instead of waiting 3 months to save up for it. Your brain is screaming, "I want it now," so loud that it drowns out the rational voice explaining why that's a terrible decision. The wealthy have figured out how to hack their present bias. They automate their savings so the money disappears before they can spend it. They set up systems that make good financial decisions the default and bad decisions require extra effort. If you have to manually transfer money to savings every month, you're relying on willpower, and willpower fails. But if your paycheck hits your account and automatically 20% goes to investments before you even see it, you're not fighting your psychology anymore, you're working with it. Here's another massive issue. People think in terms of income, not wealth. I see this all the time. Someone says, "I make $90,000 a year," like that means something about their financial health. But income is just the water flowing through the pipe. What matters is how much you capture. I know people making $60,000 with a higher net worth than people making $150 because they actually keep their money. Your income is your potential. Your net worth is your reality. Now let me tell you about the biggest lie we tell ourselves about money. I'll start saving when I make more. No, you won't. If you can't save 10% when you make $50,000, you won't save it when you make $80,000, because the math is the same. $5,000 feels just as impossible to save when you make 50 as $8,000 feels when you make 80. Your expenses will expand to fill your income unless you consciously stop them. The time to build the habit is now, at whatever income you have. This is where it gets interesting, though, because there's a flip side to this that people need to hear. Sometimes the problem isn't lifestyle inflation. Sometimes the problem is that your income actually isn't high enough for your circumstances. If you're making $40,000 in a city where rent is $2,000 a month, no amount of budgeting is going to save you. You need to either increase your income or decrease your fixed costs, probably both. But most people don't want to hear that because it's uncomfortable. It's easier to believe that you just need to be more disciplined rather than accepting that you might need to change jobs, change cities, or change your entire life situation. Here's what wealthy people understand that broke people don't. Money is boring. Building wealth is boring. It's not exciting investment strategies or side hustles or crypto. It's making more than you spend, investing the difference in boring index funds, and doing that consistently for decades. That's it. That's the whole game. But it's not sexy, so people don't want to do it. They want the shortcut. They want the get-rich-quick scheme. And that's exactly why they stay broke. Let me give you the harsh truth. If you're making a good income and you're not building wealth, it's because you're choosing comfort today over security tomorrow. That's not a judgment, it's just what's happening. Every time you finance furniture, every time you upgrade your phone before the old one breaks, every time you convince yourself you deserve something because you work hard, you're making that choice. And that's fine, but own it. Don't pretend you're a victim of circumstances when you're actually just making different priorities than wealthy people make. Now look, here's what you actually need to do if you want to break this cycle. First, you need to audit your fixed costs, not your lattes and streaming services. Your big three: housing, transportation, and food. If those three things are eating up 70% or more of your take-home pay, you don't have a discipline problem, you have a math problem. You need to make more money or reduce those costs. There's no budgeting app that's going to fix that. Second, automate everything. Set up automatic transfers to a high-yield savings account and investment accounts on the day you get paid. Start with whatever you can, even if it's just 5% of your income. The amount matters less than building the habit. Once it's automated, increase it by 1% every quarter. You won't even notice. Third, implement a 48-hour rule on any non-essential purchase over $100. You see something you want? Great. Wait 48 hours. If you still want it after that and you can afford it without going into debt, buy it. But you'll be shocked how often that immediate desire fades. That's your present bias talking, and the 48-hour rule gives your rational brain time to catch up. Fourth, calculate the true cost of everything using the formula I mentioned earlier. Before any major purchase, ask yourself, what is this going to cost me in future wealth? Sometimes the answer is worth it, but force yourself to do the math. Don't let your brain trick you into thinking a monthly payment is the actual cost. Fifth, and this is the most important one, design your life around your financial goals instead of designing your financial goals around your life. Most people look at their current lifestyle and then try to figure out how much to save whatever's left over. Wealthy people decide what financial future they want, calculate what that requires, and then design their life around what's left over. It's the same money, but the psychology is inverted. Here's the thing, you're probably not going to do most of this, and I'm not saying that to be mean, I'm saying it because I know how human psychology works. You're going to watch this video, maybe feel motivated for a day or two, and then slip back into your old patterns. That's what most people do. But some of you, maybe 5% of you watching this, are actually going to implement these things. You're going to automate your savings tonight. You're going to calculate what you actually need to invest to retire comfortably. You're going to make hard decisions about your lifestyle. And in 10 years, you're going to have a completely different financial life than everyone else who makes the same income as you. The difference between people who build wealth and people who stay broke isn't intelligence, it's not luck, it's not family money, it's the willingness to be intentional about money when everyone around you is on autopilot. It's the willingness to be uncomfortable now so you can be secure later. It's the understanding that every dollar you earn is a choice, and you're either choosing wealth or you're choosing to stay broke. The game isn't rigged against you. The game is just different than what you thought it was. You thought making more money was winning, but making more money is just getting more chips. Wealth is keeping those chips and letting them multiply. Most people are so busy celebrating their bigger paycheck that they don't notice they're still broke, just broke at a higher level. You can change this right now, today, but you have to actually want to. You have to want financial freedom more than you want to impress people. You have to want security more than you want comfort. You have to want to win more than you want to keep pretending that your circumstances are what's holding you back. Because here's the truth nobody wants to hear. For most people watching this, the only thing standing between you and wealth is you. Your choices, your habits, your willingness to delay gratification. And that's actually good news, because if you're the problem, you can also be the solution. So what's it going to be? Are you going to keep doing what you're doing and hoping for different results? Or are you actually going to change something? Because I promise you, 5 years from now, you're going to wish you started today.